Welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Bob Sellers here with Heather Childers. We're going to continue our conversation, but let me throw this in there just very quickly. Maybe he's been to some of these parties we had talked about, but Bernie Sanders, the senator, turns out to be quite the demanding hotel guest while out on the road. The Vermont senator's requirements are exposed in a new book called Battle for the Soul Inside the Democrats' Campaigns to Defeat Trump. Necessities for the senator include hotel rooms away from elevators and ice machines. Okay, now that's not crazy. I'll give him that one, okay?
I can see that.
Temperature had to be at 60 degrees, had to have a king-size bed that had, and a down comforter or extra blanket that had to be dark blue and made of cotton. The room had to be stocked with green tea and honey, Gatorade, and cans of assorted nuts. Also, this for the so-called man of the people. And by the way, I was reading also about this, that he didn't want to upgrade because that would, but he likes sweets. Yeah. Well, I don't get a sweet
and
pretty much.
Specifically a dark blue
Yes, now, the only thing I was wondering about that, Heather, is Van Halen was known to put in all these requirements and then say, no, it was like no brown M&Ms, right? So as soon as they would go in, they'd check out the M&Ms, and if there were brown ones, they know they hadn't read all the way through. But if there were no brown ones, they were sure they read. So maybe this is his tactic.
Yeah, maybe he's a fan of Van Halen. He knows about that.
Exactly. It wouldn't, but I wouldn't be shocked at that. But this is all how, continuing our conversation, you know, James Carville's kind of talking about this elitism that doesn't play well for the Democrats, who, I don't know how you are, Hal, but I might be a little older than you, but when I was coming up, Democrats were the union, the hardworking blue-collar guys, men and women, and now it's not so much like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain level of phoniness there, isn't there? And you know, you stole my thunder a little bit. I was saying that this reminds me of a rock band or something where they need these specific requests met when traveling. You know, but this is right along the lines of other Marxists around the country or around the world, quite frankly. You know, he also requested on his private jets, which he became quite fond of in this same piece, a certain amount of leg room, can't be too cramped, can't be flying where there's going to be too much turbulence. I mean, he had all kinds of requests for his private jet as well. Reminds me of something you'd see, you know, Hugo Chavez lived pretty well down in Venezuela. You had Kim Jong-un lives well in North Korea. Castro lives well in Cuba. I mean, that's what happens when you have Marxist leadership. The leadership in the Marxist movement live well, and everybody else lives poorly.
Well, that's
Bernie Sanders is a Marxist.
The ones at the top get all the money. Amy, your thoughts?
Yep.
I was just going to say that it's a socialism pyramid scheme is what he's pulling off. If you were a gambler in Vegas, he would be considered a high roller, and maybe he would have a casino host appointed to him to make sure all of his needs were met. This is somebody who, you know, goes and touts that he is for the poor and for the downtrodden, but he sure does expect a lot for himself.
Yeah. Stacey?
Oh, Bernie Sanders. So, you know, he's the kind of person who he just tells you all of these things about how he doesn't believe in capitalism, yet he didn't turn down the private jets. And so I've seen all these stories about people finding themselves, unbeknownst to themselves, they stroll onto their flight and they walk back into coach and they see one of the Trump kids or, you know, a pair of them, you know, the couples that they're supposed to be these elitists, the Trumps, and they are rich. And extraordinarily good looking, but they're on the coach. They're in the coach part of the aircraft, sitting there buckling themselves in. And they would sometimes get harassed for being in coach, taking the regular man's form of flight. Yeah. Then you have Bernie Sanders, who says he wants to he wants the government to have the means of production to own it. And he wants the destruction of capitalism. Yet he's flying in a private plane that, as he said, he enjoyed that they couldn't leave without him.
Worked pretty well.
That
System works well for him, Heather.
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to avoid a bumpy flight, though. What was that Hal said? He wants to avoid flights in
Good
turbulence.
luck with that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he should take NyQuil, and then he won't even feel it.
Nice work if you can get it.
And by the way, he's not paying for any of it.
Right.
You know, the rich donors.
Still,
the rich
why the blue
donors
blanket?
are paying for it.
Why the blue blanket? I need a blue blanket. Amy Tarkanian, Stacey Washington, Hal Lambert, thank you so much. And we'll be back with more of American Agenda after this.